evening, everyone. Welcome to episode number 2 of Conversations with the Katzes. As you all know, this is Judy, aka Diane.
Hi.
I'm Captain J, aka Captain J. We're here on our live on our Facebook page at Conversations with the Katzes, Quake RYC Praise News, where music is therapy's Facebook page, and Quake RYC Praise News YouTube channel as well. Feel free to share this as you can if you'd like. I'm on any of your social media platforms or on to your friends, whoever. Here today we have special conversation here. It's more Judy led than me led. We're talking about gossiping and
gossiping,
mainly
bullying, but
gossiping and bullying.
Gossiping is who you gossip about. You are ugly. So.
Okay.
Okay. So, a little situation that happened recently. Today was a rough day. This guy I assume it was God, or God brought it back to my attention, something that happened in the past. And it kind of made it fairly real. Kind of humbled me and made me think about things in a little different way. So let's get in with what happened. I've been in a situation where there's been a lot of talking about people without asking any questions to get to know them. Saying their opinions of someone without, again, asking questions to get to know somebody. I chose to remain silent and just let them talk and try to ignore it the best I could. Because what I learned about gossiping several years ago was that when you're gossiping about others, well, let me backtrack a little bit. So the event that happened was there's a group of people that at my job, at risk of getting in trouble, or I should say previous job, said a lot of things and were just saying things like, oh, well, her intentions were this and her intentions were that, or I bet you she thought this or she thought that, or yeah, I know, and she did this, she wants to do this and she wants to do that. Well, how do you know? How do you know what somebody wants to do? How do you know what somebody is thinking? Ask questions. Stop assuming. Because what happened eventually that came to a head was one of the people got angry. I went to dinner and somebody got angry at me for going to dinner because it came out later that they thought that I did it so they couldn't go and blah, blah, blah. No, that wasn't the case at all. I'm not vindictive like that. If that would be a problem, say something and I would go at a different time. So basically kind of what I've learned in the past is that when you gossip about people and you assume facts not, as I say, assume facts not in evidence, and don't ask questions and don't get the true facts. I always say you have an opinion, I have an opinion, together where they cross over is usually the truth. You have your truth, I have my truth, and together where they overlap is usually the truth. And I didn't participate in the gossip. Anytime they started gossiping, I walked away, or in this case, rolled away. Because I understand what it does to the innermost of your spirit. When I was younger, I would gossip, and I would talk about people and repeat things that people said and blah, blah, blah. It was a mess. But what I learned was when they talked about me, I got offended. I got hurt. What are you talking about me for? I thought we were good. I thought we were friends. If they're going to talk to everybody else about everybody else, don't be surprised when they're talking about you. Also, when you start participating in gossip, even listening contaminates you. Makes you wonder what they're saying when they're whispering. It makes you wonder what they're saying about you. If they're, it's just a mess. So Matthew 15:11. Listen and try. This is Jesus talking. Listen and try to understand. It is not what goes into your mouth that defiles you. You are defiled by the words that come out of your mouth. What I also learned about gossiping a few years ago was the fact that Stephen Furtick said it best. He's like, well, I'm letting it out. He's like, no, you're letting it in. What you're saying goes back in your ears and back into your spirit. And it makes you question, and so basically there were some things that the heat of the thing was there's some things that were said about somebody else, and there's been an experience that I witnessed a few years ago where a person in authority was accused by the rumor mill of messing around with one of his subordinates. Unfounded, and somebody got angry and made a phone call to his wife right before Christmas. That person's life was turned upside down, inside out, in all kinds of different directions. We need to realize and understand the power of our tongues to speak death over someone else's life. When I brought it to a member of management about what happened most recently, said, well, what does this have to do with anything? It has everything to do with it. Everything has everything to do with things. Because gossiping is like a cancer in a business, in an environment of any kind, a work environment or personal friendship environment, whatever. It is like a cancer. It's a toxic undercurrent. And it destroys relationships. It destroys teamwork. And most importantly, it interferes with you getting your job done correctly because you're dodging. Because what it feels like when you're being gossiped about regularly, aka and continuous 3 hours is like being in a war zone. It's hard to focus when you've got, what it feels like, bullets flying at your head, knives flying at your back, all that stuff. I'm a pretty strong person, and at one of my finer moments when I literally said after getting screamed at by what they thought I thought and what they felt like I meant for after I said nothing. In the conclusions I drew about what I didn't say, and then screaming and yelling at me for it, they basically were tortured by their own thoughts. And that's what gossiping does too. And so, um, so I kind of removed myself from that situation. So the reason I'm in a little bit of a humbled spirit today is because God reminded me of a few years ago when I participated in a rumor, part of the rumor mill, kept it going. Now I was not participating in the one that turned someone's life upside down. At least not that, the one I just mentioned. I did, however, very similar to the situation I just came from, where I just didn't say anything. Just kind of let it go. I tried to ignore it. Tried to be Christian and do the right thing. Not say anything, not cause issues, and just try to ignore the gossiping and all the lies being told. And he brought me back to a point where I participated in it. If I could have physically dropped to my knees, I'd have done it right then and there. Because I now know how it felt. It's never okay to talk about people. It's never okay for your own sake. Just don't. Just don't talk about people. It's just not okay. It's very damaging to yourself, to your own psyche, to your own well-being. I mean, it's an adrenaline rush. Don't get me wrong. You've been there, done that. It's an absolute adrenaline rush. If you're an adrenaline junkie, it'll feed that. But the destruction it has on your own self-esteem. Because when I stopped gossiping, and I prayed for God to bridle my tongue when I stopped gossiping, I had my self-confidence back, the self-esteem back, and most importantly, self-respect back. Stuff that I had lost for a very, very long time. Which brings me to the other somber thing that I want to talk about with gossiping is, which leads to the bullying of things. And that is, even legally, saying stuff that you know isn't true about somebody is slander. Normally, it can wind you up in a court of law or defendants. But on the flip side of that coin is we have all these shootings. And they say, well, we had no idea. You probably did. There probably was. There probably was a notice. There probably was an idea. Because I don't know how many times I went to the ambulance about this issue. And they're like, oh, they're just young. They're just this. It's just that. Just ignore it. Well, if you keep ignoring things like this, eventually it comes out in some way. Me, my integrity took a hit because I walked off the trail. I'd had enough and I knew it wasn't going to end well for me. I'm not talking about I was in a shooting buddy or anything like that. I just want to put that out there. I'm not doing that. I'm whole enough. I'm walking away. Rolling away. But we don't, and putting it in my rearview mirror and moving forward. But we don't have a right to tear people down because of our own insecurities. Gossiping is just us putting our insecurities out there, handing someone a weapon to use back against us to hurt us. We need to stop doing this. Our words are like bullets that you fire off with your own AK-47 called your mouth. And then please understand, I am not being insensitive to anybody that's ever been killed in one of these mass shootings, because my heart goes out 100% to these families and the carnage and the innocent people that were killed. And it's just as unnecessary. We can control this as human beings. We need to stop using our mouths as weapons. We absolutely 100% need to stop using our mouths as a weapon. Because what happens on the other side is people resort to physical violence. You know, I remember somebody once said, and it was perfect, words are like seeds that we plant in a garden. Thoughts are the water, and our actions are the fertilizer. Whether we grow flowers or whether we grow weeds is our choice. Choose wisely. Our words that come out of our mouth go back into our ears. They become thoughts. The thoughts are then turned into actions, and those actions are what we create in our lives. Gossiping creates a lot of angst and a lot of uneasiness in our own spirit. Like I said, it creates an adrenaline rush. So at first it's kind of like cool, but then it's like, you see the same two people are talking about somebody else. You're like, or you walk in the room and they're talking, all of a sudden they stop talking. It's like, oh, what are you saying about me? It's not an okay for interactions. You don't get to make up stories about people. You don't get to lie about people and say a bunch of things that aren't true. And then continue to do it. And like I said, unchecked, it becomes a really bad situation. So I'm asking, as Christians and as fellow human beings, please stop. You're like, but how do you stop? Because, you know, the Bible talks about bridling your tongue. I had to pray to God to have him bridle my tongue. There's several times in the last couple of years, I'm like, Lord, bridle my tongue. Just, Lord, bridle my tongue. Lord, bridle my tongue. Lord, please bridle my tongue. It actually works.
You will do it.
You will do it. There are some times that I had a little bit of an issue where he's like, don't say it, and I said it.
We've all been there.
But I've had to go back and apologize to people for things I said and done. The one person that I worked with that was kind of me in this situation, when I was the group that was doing the gospel, participating in that. I can't go back and apologize to her because I don't know where she is. So I immediately went to prayer. Hung my head. Went to prayer. And prayed for God to bless her. Because she didn't deserve that treatment. I'm just grateful that nothing else, had ever come about. No one else, I say no one else got hurt, but somebody did. And I can't change it. All I can ask is ask for forgiveness and plead with people to do as I have done, which is stop. It's destructive not only to everybody else around you, but also to you. Minimally stop for your own sake. I just hate to see. It's just a form of bullying. It's just a constant barrage of people saying stuff about you that isn't true. That constant barrage of making up stories and people getting mad at you for stuff you didn't even say or do because somebody else said you said it and somebody else said you did it when you didn't do it, and it was somebody else, or they guess on your intentions, or that weren't your intentions at all. Or I mean, there's some things about misunderstandings, but there's also some things about just out and out. If they would have asked me, I would have told them, well, I went to dinner because you were working on the maintenance, and I knew I had 30 to 40 minutes, and then getting someone to cover me after 11 was going to be hard because people were gone. That's all it would have taken. I could answer that question. So the best thing that we need to do is put it through this filter that God says. It's Philippians chapter 4, verse 8. And now, dear brothers and sisters, one final thing. Fix your thoughts on what is true and honorable and right and pure and lovely and admirable. Think about things that are excellent and worthy of praise. Keep putting into practice all you learned and received from me, everything you heard from me and saw me doing. Then the God of peace will be with you. If it doesn't edify the person, if it doesn't build them up, if it doesn't explain the situation, we probably don't need to be saying. If it doesn't communicate something that you need to say so someone can, pick up where you left off doing a handoff at work or something like that, probably doesn't need to be said. If all you want to do is talk about somebody, to make yourself feel better, to tear them down so you feel better, stop. Because the only person you're tearing down is you. You might tear them down temporarily, but why are you pulling someone down? Stand up.
I could.
You jokester.
Stand up.
But stop pulling people down. Stand up. Because if just stand up, reach for, in my analogy, is reach for the fruit. Stop settling for the fruit. On the lower levels of the tree, reserved for the animals. Stand up and pick the fruit that's higher to the sun, that has the more flavor and all that kind of stuff. This is a metaphor, so just kind of use it that way. Stand up. Reach higher. Stop settling for the way the world acts. Somebody said to me once when I was talking about gossiping, well, everybody does it. Well, everybody does it. So why not? At the risk of getting a lot of hate tweets at me.
No one, you won't get any. I'll defend it.
What if we thought about that in the 60s when they was talking about slavery? Well, a lot of people, it does, just because the world does it doesn't mean it's right. And by the way, I don't believe in slavery at all. No, there's no human being that is worth less than any other human being. There's nobody that's worth more or less than I am, more or less than he is, more than or less than our DJ Orlando is. Based on our differences, based on our similarities, there's nobody worth more or less, especially in the eyes of God. We're all equal. We are all put on this purpose. I have skills that he doesn't have. He has skills that other people doesn't have. Orlando has a lot of skills with technology that we don't have.
And you have a lot of skills that I don't have. You can build things.
But we have a destiny to walk into. We have a purpose to walk into. And we can't do that as long as we're tearing people down. When I walked out, I got home and I didn't even make it out home. I made it outside. And I said, what did I just do? So I've never done that before.
Well, you did go to put your badge in the one all out here, and then discuss it, and they took care of it.
Yeah.
So
but it was the same. That was more of a bullying situation.
That's okay.
It was started out with gossiping, and then it went into bullying, where they wouldn't give me information I needed to be able to do my job, and then made fun of me and he tried to humiliate me in front of patients. That was a whole other story.
I never officially walked off of a job.
No. But we just gotta stop. Our insecurities are our insecurities. I have insecurities. He has insecurities. We all have insecurities. We gotta deal with those. And dealing with them isn't tearing someone else down. Dealing with them is taking responsibility and standing up. Standing up for ourselves. Standing up for... Me walking out was the first time in 52 years. You didn't hear me say that. 52 years.
She's adding a few extra years.
What?
No, just kidding.
No,
I'm trying to help you out.
52 years that I've stood up for myself. The first time that I've actually stood up for myself.
Couldn't be more proud.
Well, it felt good. A little shell-shocked by the time I got out, going, okay.
Now what?
Now what? But I remember in my spirit, God saying, they didn't know your value. They didn't know your worth. There was, this past Sunday, we read James. Was it 1? Was it?
James 2?
James 2?
I could look at it too. Go ahead.
Okay.
But the other is, when she had walked out, I was frustrated and angry, and it seemed like I was angry at her. And then, honestly, the first couple seconds, I was angry at that. I had just laid down to go to bed, and I got a text message that said, "I'm done. Come get me." I just laid down to go to bed. So yeah, I was a little angry in that aspect, but I went to go get her. Then once I got there, God gave me time to drive her to pick her up, and I was angry that the adversaries thought he won by having her leave. But the reality was that we know that God's got us. If this happened 10 years ago, before our walk in faith with God, I would have been angry. It would have been, it would have been horrible. I'm not going to say what we have saved, but thanks be to God that we have savings. Always been out here, built that up. And there hasn't been any, there's no issue there. And now she's got calls daily for another position somewhere. Not here, where we're at currently, but God keeps providing. So, as I say, let go, let God, but God's going to take us in our next place. Trust in the walk. Sometimes when He tells you to close the door, you close the door and you don't want it closed. Sometimes you just got to let go of the door. There were signs that He wanted us to move on, and we just weren't ready. We're finally connected with the church here. We've got great folks that they're loving on us and everything. We love the church. But if He's got us to go somewhere else right now, that's where we're going to go. And it's not wrong to walk out in that aspect. If that's what He wants us to do, that's what we do. Unfortunately, it took that long to get there, and the situation had to happen. But there's a lot of growth in this as well. So I digress.
Okay.
Sorry. I was trying to help you out, and then I didn't. I went off on a tangent. Rabbit hole.
Yeah.
Said James. You're looking for James 2, 9 through 12.
Yeah. 1 through.
Well, that's where we're at
Yeah.
Sunday. James 9. James, no, sorry, James 2, 9 through 12.
Well, was it 9 through 12?
That's what I bookmarked. So, yeah, but if you show favoritism,
Yeah.
I would read it.
Well, the part that struck me was, my dear brothers and sisters, how can you claim to have faith in your glorious Lord Jesus Christ if you favor some people over others? For example, suppose someone comes into your meeting dressed in fancy clothes and expensive jewelry, and another comes in who is poor and dressed in dirty clothes. You give special attention and good seat to the rich person, but you say to the poor one, you can stand over there or else sit on the floor. Well, doesn't this discrimination show that your judgments are guided by evil motives? Listen to me, dear brothers and sisters. Hasn't God chosen the poor in this world to be rich in faith? Aren't the ones who will inherit the kingdom he promised to those who love him? But you dishonor the poor. Isn't it the rich who oppress you and drag you into court? Aren't the ones who slander Jesus Christ, whose noble name you bear? Yes, indeed, it is good when you but obey the royal law as found in the scriptures. Love your neighbor as yourself. If you favor some people over others, you are committing a sin. You are guilty of breaking the law. We're supposed to treat others as we want to be treated. I kind of have a little bit of a problem with that. We should do it as God has treated us, not as we want to be treated. Because we got a lot of people who are walking around here hating on themselves by how they treat other people. I tell you what, I don't want to treat someone like I treat myself. That's for sure. But I would love to treat someone like Jesus has treated me. Imagine how the world would be if we followed that. I know it's been a very humbling day. Like you said, the final analogy I had with the violence in this country. We're an absolute positive, and justifiably so, abhorrence, or better yet, anger, frustration, sadness, when someone goes in and does a mass shooting, and justifiably so. But every day we violate, and with the words we use, we damage and wound people on a daily basis. But that never gets talked about. I don't understand. Because, like I said, I apologize for the analogy. Our words are like bullets from an AK-47 at other people, and we spray it around just like no matter who's in earshot. One of the things that was said in vagueness. Now, just because it was said doesn't mean I owned it. And I shouldn't be able to let it get on the inside of me either. But when you're hit with it, it's like 3 hours of, as if you're a parent. Mom, 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 mom,
What?
mom, mom. 3 hours of that. Eventually you're going to snap.
Crackle pop.
Yeah. And you're just going to get tired of hearing it. Like, what?
I heard that a lot when I was a kid.
Yeah. There's only so much our human spirit can take before we just can't take anymore. And I just hope and pray that, this reaches enough people that some changes happen. And people realize that, words they speak can be used to build up or tear down. It can be used to help or to obliterate. And it's very important what we say and how we say it. Also, I got in trouble a lot for not communicating, but half of communicating is listening. And if people don't want to listen, like I said, I can't make people listen.
You make me listen all the time.
What?
You make me listen all the time. There we go. That's my goal in life, is to make her laugh when she's feeling down. That's married life for 22 years is what that is.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
So, if we can please stop treating our mouth like a weapon and think about things. If you think I changed my gossiping overnight, no. If you think I bridled my tongue overnight, no. God and I had many a conversation about my tongue. He did a lot of the talking. And I did a lot of the complaining. But I guarantee you, on the other side of this, it is so much more peaceful.
Mm-hmm.
And if I'm not watching, here's the deal: if you're not watching for "quote unquote" friendly fire all the time, you can focus on the people around you. You can see the people around you. You can see needs. You can, do that. Out of this experience, the one thing I can say is God has taught me to see people. It's taught me not to be so judgmental and to look and actually see people. We have talked to, where's that thing?
Oh, what? The donation?
Yeah.
Oh, hold on a second.
So there is a. Yeah.
Go sideways. Technology is not my friend today. Nope, it's not gonna work. Yeah.
So we have, in my spirit, we have a pretty large homeless population here in the area we're in, and right now on this island. And I don't know if you've ever had God illuminate someone who, when you see see a bunch of people and he just kind of illuminates a person for you, and stuff like that. And he God basically said, feed him. So we did. We learned that other people are giving him food, which is fine. What we can afford to give them won't feed them for very long. And there's a whole bus full of people, homeless. So, as much as they can get would be great.
And it's a section surrounded by 7 churches on that block.
Yeah.
So we're at a time where we're struggling with our food. No, not food insecurity, because we have food and we're blessed. But we're out there bringing food out to somebody that needs it, because they need it. As God said, do. I'm not concerned about what he does with it. He might go sell it to somebody else, or whatnot. It's obedience. God says, do. I'm not going to argue with God.
Yeah.
I've already tried that before. Lost the battle. So
something God put on my heart to write was, I want you to know that as we journey through our storms, I said we just lost 80% of our income. God is with us. One thing I was told when I prayed was, quote unquote, they didn't know your value or your worth, end of quotes. God sees you and he knows your value and your worth. It is more than what the world deems as valuable. Not what you drive, eat, wear, or where you live, but who you are and how you treat others in community. God bless. That is pretty much the first time I have ever taken the time to see someone for who they are, not just the position they're in. I haven't been brave enough to hang around to ask his story, even though I'd like to know. I'm not talking gossip, because I know the story that got us into homelessness. But everyone has a story. Everyone has a situation that put them in a homeless position. Some of them it's their own fault. Some of them it's not. They didn't do anything to cause that. It just happened to be the whole. But if nothing else, that can come out of this is God has softened my heart to people. Ironically, being gossiped and bullied about actually softened my heart. Usually it's the other way around. Hardens your heart. So I don't know. Just kind of took a turn I didn't think it was going to take, but here we go.
Isn't that a rabbit hole?
Rabbit hole.
We're good at rabbit holes.
Eleanor Roosevelt was quoted this: small minds discuss people, average minds discuss events, and large minds discuss ideas. I don't necessarily like the idea of calling someone small-minded and average-minded or large-minded, big-minded. Because as a society, we want to label people. Part of the bullying that happened was, with being in a, let me phrase that. I feel as if being in a chair. See, I got some dysfunctional thinking to work through too, guys. So I'm not calling people out on their dirt as if I've made it and I've arrived, because I clearly haven't. Because as human beings, we like to fill in the blanks that we don't know. If someone doesn't tell us what they're thinking, then we just kind of assume what they're thinking. And that's a dangerous place. That's a dangerous thing to do. Very dangerous thing to do. One of the things I wrote a while ago is everybody has experiences they've gone through. Everybody has things they've journeyed through, traumas they've dealt with, traumas they haven't dealt with, traumas they've just experienced. And I call those filters. So as we walk and navigate through life, we look through these filters. And those frame our reference points, whether things are safe or unsafe, whether they're good or they're bad. And they also frame our understanding and interpretation of certain events. We have a frame of reference. This all goes back to what I'm alluding to is labels. We like to categorize people. label people. If you're disabled, then you're like this. If you're Democratic, then you're this. If you're a Republican, then you're this. That's not. You gotta stop labeling people like that.
We're all God's people.
Yeah, labels are for clothes. Labels are for boxes. Labels are for packing. Labels are for like items that you put in a box so you can find them at a later time. They're not made for people. Because we had Ted on the show who has spinal cord injury.
I believe so. I apologize, Ted, if we got that wrong. I don't see people for disabilities. I see people for that. I forget what the disability is.
Yeah. So he's got a disability, but his is different than mine. He can do things I can't do. I can do things he can't do.
You can walk.
He can walk and do steps. I can't.
You can do steps. You can go down about 2 before it hurts.
Yeah. I've jumped a curb before. Down. I've never tried it up. I think that would hurt too bad. Wind up face first on the
No, you got a seatbelt, so it'll keep you in the seat. Sorry.
Orlando's going, oh my.
Poor Orlando's watching going, what did I create with these folks? So shout out to Orlando for getting us to be able to do this and get the confidence to do it. So she was tired and fighting it, and I'm like, yeah, we're going to do this. Okay, we're going. They ever said try to stop us Monday, but not today. Not today, Satan. Amen.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So, we got to stop trying to label people and put them in boxes of our understanding. Because when I've tried to stop doing that, when I've gotten after myself and like thinking, well, they're like this, so this is who they are. And I've kind of gotten after myself going, well, did you talk to them? Did you ask them? Maybe they're not like that, kind of thing. Kind of gotten after myself on that as well. There's a freedom there because you don't have to, because my experience has been, I didn't fit the stereotype that they thought I should be. And so therefore they tried to break me and put me into a box that they could define me in. It's what it felt like. I'm not saying that's what it was, but I'm just saying that's what it felt like. And of course, me being the stubborn deal
Stubborn.
that I am.
Okay.
I'm like, I ain't crawling in that box. You can't break me. I just want, my purpose for doing this talk, I guess overall, is to just, if I can stop somebody from doing one more shooting, if I can stop somebody from being bullied and stop one more mass casualty, and hopefully multiple ones, not just one, hopefully multiple ones.
Stopping multiple ones,
yes. That's my hope and my prayer for this talk. And to say this last thing, and that is, bullying is less about you and more about the person doing bullying.
That is true.
A lot of times it's a reflection or deflection of how they feel about themselves put onto you. And if you can see it that way, it helps out a lot. It actually helps you pray for someone who's experiencing, I don't know how many nights I prayed, Lord Jesus. Well, the night that all this went down, I prayed to God. I'm like, God, you got to handle this because I can't take much more.
Jesus.
And so then I got out to the bus. I'm like, I thought I asked you to take it, handle it. He goes, I did. I was like, oh,
May not be what we thought it was.
Yeah.
And he's like, "This is what it. This is yep. You're next.
He goes, I did handle it.
You asked to take care. You asked me to take care of it. And I did take care of it. There you go. Not what we expected.
A few weeks ago, I was at a Taco Bell here, and God said, "Give the manager $20." And we went to go back up front, and we went to give her the $20. And they told her that we were up there waiting, and she looked over at us and she walked away.
We said we needed to speak with the manager.
Yeah.
She acknowledged us by facial,
eye contact, and turned around and walked away. So we waited, and we waited, 15, 20 minutes?
Eh,
Felt like 15, 20
Yeah, it
minutes.
was like 5 to 10.
And I got my spirit was okay to go. And so I thought, well, that was just weird. And God in my spirit said, some people don't know the blessings I have for them. So this is all in order of how this all went down. So when I prayed that night, I said, God, take care of this because I can't do this anymore. I can't handle this anymore. And I went to dinner. And when I came back is when I walked out. I tried my best to continue. And after I got screamed at and just huffed at, I'm just done. And so I got outside and said, Lord, I thought you were going to take care of this. And he's like, I did. And so a little bit later, of course, I got outside and I was like, what did I do? And I got home and then I apologized to Jason because I just upset our lives, financially upset our lives, and threw away a job over bullying. And I didn't even ask him first. Not that I got to ask him. I didn't include him first. He knew I wasn't happy just by observation. But we had never really discussed the option if we could. So I apologize profusely for that.
No worries.
Because in a marriage, if you're gonna turn your home life upside down, you really need to be with the other person. It's not nice if you don't.
But 22 years of marriage, and then we're on 9 years, 8.5 years with our walk with Christ. You learn the other person pretty well. I knew she wasn't happy, and there was going to be a time there was going to be a walkout, or murder, one of the two. I mean, it was, I and knowing that you're going to walk out at some point, it is what it is in that aspect. Just happiness is, if you're in a situation like that, I'd rather see somebody walk out than continue that over a dollar. Because I trust, we know that God's our provider, not the hospital, not the recruit, the company that pays out. He provides it, and he's opening doors that we never thought would be open. Mm-hmm. Heck, we're here in North Carolina. We thought that door would be open. A year ago we were stuck in a blizzard in Pekin, Illinois. Working at a place. Today without barely having any finances. Now we have a small little nest egg, enough to get us through. God's been provided. Whatever the step is, the step is.
A couple months ago, he said, save up anything extra. Clamp down on your expenses and save everything else. And so we did. I thought it's because we were going to have our house paid by December. Wrong answer.
So you think?
Yeah, at least for what I see now, which he'll divulge as we do this walk.
Yeah.
But when I prayed at home and I'm like, Lord, did I do the right thing? Did I do the right thing? Did I do the right thing? His response was, and I said, I was supposed to teach about mortgages and this, that, and the other. And he's like, sometimes people don't know your value anymore.
Know your value.
And so, and that's where that came in. And that's what he kind of said about with the blessings. And that was the other thing he put on my heart was, some people don't see the blessings that I have for them. And I know that's true for me. But the reason I'm so heavy on my heart today is like I said, is because of God brought to my attention today. The past. I mean, it was almost like a mirrored situation. Like you look at them side by side, they were almost identical. Except I was on the other side this time. I can assure you, if I ever thought about going back, I'm not now. And I wish I could apologize to them. Was the gossip bullies victim. Ladies and gentlemen, just be careful. Because it will infect you so bad, it's not even funny. And listening to it is not nearly as bad. It still gets in, but it's not nearly as bad as when you speak it out. Because not only do you speak it, but then you hear it yet again.
You hear something, say something.
Yeah.
The other thing that Katz been putting on me the last couple of days too, in preparation for the Sue, it's from a song I've heard. I know it's part from a poem, but it's the words are very important. But if they're taken too seriously, will destroy everything. And that can be taken a couple different ways. One way is that people are saying words to you, like I do remote call center for. Let's leave it at that. I won't divulge too much information on that. Those of you that know. But like, was it yesterday? I had a gentleman that know he had talked to 15 people in the last 3 days, so he was frustrated and angry. Understood why. But I picked up the phone, saved my intro, and I guess cussed out at. And I said, I'm the worst person ever. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm not trying to help. All that kind of stuff. But those words were cutting. But I know, like, I had got my supervisor in on the call. I'm not talking on there, which is in the chat. And she's like, don't let them tell you that we know your worth. The words are important, but they could be taken too seriously. If I could have taken his words seriously and hers is secondary. Her words were definitely more important. But don't let the negative stuff get to you so bad, or even the positive stuff get to you too much. Because then you become gloating, and people are always saying, "You're the greatest, you're the best, you're this, you're that." You're the greatest of all time, and that's all they do. Then you get a big head, and that's not good either. So the words are important, but choose them. But that makes you want to choose your words carefully, which will slow down on your gossiping. Because you're like, what if it was me on the receiving end of that statement? Would I like it? So positiveness is always the best. So the words are there.
And it's also just a warning of, as I always say from a barking dog, it's just, it's a warning that, if you're over the age of 18, you're a grown adult, and you are responsible for what you say and what you do. You can wind up on the other side of a defense table, because it can be, if you start saying gossip that isn't true, it can be labeled as slander and get you a lot of trouble.
Or if someone get angry and be receiving end of something else.
Yeah.
Because
just be careful. It's not worth it. It's just not worth your life.
Just choose your words carefully, and if You don't want to say anything negative.
If you're not afraid, you can, like me. A lot of times I stayed silent because I knew if I opened my mouth, it was going to be like diarrhea, and I wasn't going to be able to stop it. And so I just chose to keep my mouth shut and just,
Sometimes silence isn't acceptance. Silence is knowing you're choosing your words.
Yeah. Silence. Sometimes saying things. Sometimes not saying things is saying a lot.
Mm-hmm. Saying everything without saying a word.
It shows strength, not weakness.
Mm-hmm. So I think that's everything else.
No.
Okay.
Just accept. The last thing I got is the same thing in Philippians 4:8. If it's not edifying, if it's not true, if it doesn't build up, just don't speak it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So,
in the words of No Doubt, don't speak.
It's not really what the song was about. But,
no, it's not.
But hey, we got to use the words in that way. So, once again, this show should have been called The Real Gospel Talk versus the other show. But definitely a real conversation here. So, more of a talk than a conversation. So, once again, this is Conversations with the Katzes, and that's Katz with a K. Here we're on Quake RYC Praise News. We are on the radio too, technically, QuakeRadio.com, Live 365 app to listen to our shows. We'll get this rebroadcast on there probably the next couple of days. We got long days the next 2 days for work. So we'll have it there rebroadcast, but still available on YouTube, on Facebook, and such. We are a 501c3, so we are nonprofit. We are listener supported. So any kind of offerings that will be made, you can find that link at our website at QuakeRadio.com. We are a part of a division of, or department of, Artists in Christian Testimony. So there's a little donate button on there. So we appreciate that. It basically gets us to be able to do shows, get equipment, and do outreach shows. Events, concerts, bring in stuff like these, stream to our local artists and such. So we don't get paid in any of that aspect. This all goes back out to kingdom building in that aspect. So, and that's the hardest thing for me to do is ask for financial support. But it's don't ask, don't get kind of thing. But God's saying I need to make sure that people know we're here. So we appreciate you listening in. All 2, 3 of you. At one point we hit 3. But it's not necessarily for those that are watching now. It could be for someone watching down the road. So we're going to try to do this every Monday as of now, unless we decide to switch days up. Maybe a little hiccup in here a couple when we go traveling again to our next location. So we may be off for a little bit, different day or skip a week. If we're driving, it's not the best idea to do a live YouTube channel show while I'm driving at 80 miles an hour. I can't go 80 in my bus anyway, so probably 70. But probably not the best idea. So,
like the time that we were in the Quake van, and I said, "How fast are you going?" And I looked, and you're like, "You're doing."
Yeah.
And I'm not gonna say because
it was over the speed limit.
He goes, "I liked it better when you sat further in the back, so you couldn't see this." So, but we will be doing more shows. If you'd like to be on our show with us for conversations, like these aren't interviews. This is more of a conversation. You can sit down. You can interview us if you would like. If you have questions for us, send us a message here on YouTube or on Facebook. If you have our messenger there, or if you have my phone number, or Judy's phone number, or even Orlando's phone number, don't text Orlando. Well, you can, but if it's really let us know. If you want to interview Orlando, sorry, Orlando. But if you want to be involved on our show with us, like we did with Ted last week, discuss your ministry with us, interview us, whatever, we're available for that. Just looking to help share the gospel. Whenever way we can. So, went a little over the hour mark, so apologize. Yeah, I don't want anyone to think I have hate or anything but respect for the people that did bully. I understand where they're coming from. Been there, done that. And I don't have any ill will or disrespect in my heart for them. I've forgiven them. I could even sit down and have a conversation and be okay. So I just want to put that out there. I have peace with what happened, and
Yeah, I'm content.
I wish it would have gone different. I mean, I have peace, but it doesn't mean that I am happy how things went down. I wish, things would have gone differently, but
God's got it.
God's got it, and it's in His plan, not mine.
So
Have a great evening, everyone.
or
And
morning or afternoon, depending upon when you're watching this.
Yep.
If you want to reach out to us, leave a message here in the chat thing. Send us a message on Facebook, YouTube, text message, whatever. We'd love to sit down and chat with someone. Even if you have a testimony to share, anyone is, take over our YouTube page our Facebook page for an hour. You can do that too while we're here, but not just give it to you. I'm surprised Orlando let us do this. He gave us access to it. He must love us or something. And I don't think he's even watching right now, so he'll catch it later. But that's okay. I can talk all about him if I want. No.
Oh, no, you cannot.
Have I learned anything from today?
Absolutely not.
Apparently nothing. No. But we appreciate you all for watching, listening in. This will be on our station eventually too. So until next week, next Monday, 8 o'clock Eastern, 7 p.m. Central. And then we do have some new shows coming up as well. We're going to be doing something with Ted and see what else we got. Some other shows coming up as well. So keep track, follow us on the YouTube, on Facebook, and we'll talk to you all later. Have a good night. Peace. Wrong side. There we go. Peace.